Hey, what's going on? Good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever the case may be. This is the Real Estate Development Experience. This is semester 1, year 1 of the Real Estate Development Experience. This is your host, Javon. Now, I sincerely apologize for not posting my video last week. As you know, last week was midterms week. Woo! It was absolutely brutal. I'm talking about over the course of 3 days, I studied for 36 hours. Brutal. I've been studying bit by bit before that, but the last couple 4 to 5 days was really the killer, if you will. One of the main things that I will tell you about graduate school for you undergrads, or for those of you who have graduated already and planning on going back to school, graduate school is a totally different animal than undergrad. As I stated in my first video, classes meet 1 day a week for 2.5 hours. In my program, there are no office hours, and your professors are very hard to reach. Which makes it, if you don't understand something, it kind of makes it a bit impossible for you to gain that understanding. So what I'm looking at is I'm going to have to find a way to switch up my study plans. And in my finance class, I would say about over half the students bomb the test, so the curve is going to be pretty high. But I learned a whole lot of stuff reviewing for this midterm. One of the things that I learned with real estate law, my real estate coach, which I won't name his name for privacy reasons, and by the way, I will have him on the show interviewing him either next week or the week after next. What I seen him do, and he always gives me these lectures about protecting yourself and not being got, is he puts all of his real estate, and he always told me this, into different companies. And at first I thought it was something illegal. I'm like, nah, there's something fishy about this guy. One of the things that we were studying in our real estate law class is that every time you open up a new house, it is always essential and best to put the name of the house, or it's basically what you're looking at when you get a house, for example, and it's a rental, right? Or when you get a house, and if it's a rental house, one of the things that you have to focus on is the cash flow. That is your main thing. Cash flow. And in order to protect this cash flow, I lost my good pen. In order to protect this cash flow, it is imperative that you put these rental houses into many different you can have a corporation, an LLC, an REIT, which an REIT is not necessary for this case. Basically, the two that people put the houses in is either an LLC or corporation. LLC is far more chosen over the corporation, but I'm going to get more to that further on. But anyway, you put these different houses into different LLCs, and the reason for this is to protect yourself from a suit, if you will. And I believe I posted this earlier in the last week, or the week after, or 2 weeks ago. I posted it on my Facebook for those of you who are watching this on my Facebook. I basically said this: when it comes to the law, if, for example, A sues B in court, right? A sues B in court. A wins. And A receives a judgment from the court in the amount of $1 million, right? Let's say, and oftentimes, middle class, the person that has this suit, or the person that is defeated, they don't have this particular money, stocked away. But what they do have is assets to actually cover this money. If A knows this, what A can do, he can find out where B has his real estate, what county, what town, and they can simply go to the county clerk's office, and they could submit the judgment. And what can and will happen is that the county clerk's office will issue a writ of execution, and that particular person that has his real estate in that county, he can basically have a lien put on all of the real estate in the amount of $1 million. And all of the real estate in that particular county that is listed under his name, if you have it in your name, of course, will be taken away from you and sold if you don't pay what you owe. And this is why it's dangerous. The rule when you're an investor and when you're buying rental houses, to rent out, never, ever, 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 ever put the house in your name. It is imperative that you never, ever, ever put the house in your name. What you want to put it in, and I'll get more to this at the ending of the show, is an LLC. Say you own a house on 54 Brown Street. The LLC, the company, will be listed as 54 Brown Street LLC. You don't own the company. You don't own the house. The company owns the house. It's a business, if you will. So if you get sued in the amount of $1 million, the person can't touch you. What these different companies do is shield you from liability. For example, an LLC, the people that are part of the LLC are called members, right? They assume limited liability. So if any suits happen, if you have 10 members of the LLC, you have 10 members, let's say, or 3 members, right? And somebody sues, a party sues the LLC, right? That particular person, what would happen, the whole entire investment doesn't crumble. Only a certain percentage of it. Or if somebody did something wrong, that particular person will get sued. Correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, but that's how it works. Another thing about LLCs, these different types of companies that I mentioned, why they are so popular in certain situations over others, is because of taxing. For example, a corporation, their members are called shareholders. And with the corporation, what you own when you purchase, you purchase shares. The people in the corporation are referred to as shareholders. What they own, they own partial shares inside a corporation. They own shares of stock. The person that owns the majority of the stock inside that corporation is kind of like the majority owner, right? There is not an operation agreement. There's a shareholders agreement which dictates how the corporation will be run, and the most essential part is that they have a double taxation feature, which means that any income that the corporation receives gets taxed twice. It gets taxed on a whole level, and then whatever is left over, the corporation pays dividends to each of the corporation or the shareholders, and then that gets taxed again. Right? And then individual. With the LLC is popular, especially in the holdings of real estate, residential properties, income-producing properties. The LLCs only get taxed once and not taxed twice. And there's also a limited liability feature. I'm going to get more to this next week. But anyway, wrapping this up, when you have a divorce, especially for those of you who plan on becoming very rich, divorce can crumble you. Divorce or suit, if you will, you never, ever, 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 ever put property in your name. You always want to put it in different LLCs. So, for example, if you lose a suit, somebody can go to the county clerk's office or find your holdings and file a suit, and then all of your houses get taken away. Because when you get sued, it's on an individual level. They're not suing the company, if you will. So anyway, that's basically it. I don't want to go off too long. This is spring break. I'm working. I'm relaxing. I don't want to even touch a textbook. I'll probably touch one Saturday night. But I want to leave you guys with this. Something that I was thinking of. when we go to school, we often focus on a piece of paper. Some of us. You know, we rush, we take 18 credits a semester, and we want to get things done in a year and a half. But the most vital part is, what are you learning? What are you extracting? Sometimes you might not have to, sometimes, it's not called on to take all those credits. It's more beneficial if you take the bare minimum and focus, and don't learn to get a piece of paper. Learn to improve the quality of what you're trying to do. I also want to wrap this up on a note for those of you who are new to the show. I'm not doing this to be an authority to anybody. I'm doing this to get my face out there. I'm doing this to get myself recognized. People can see my face. I'm looking for business partners. I'm looking for advice. I'm looking for guidance when I do these shows. If you're a professional, if you want to, give me some help, fine. Contribute to my thoughts, contribute to my feed, contribute to my education on real estate. For the novice that is watching this, you're getting a glimpse into the real estate world. And also for those of you who are interested in the Masters of Science in Real Estate Development, this is also beneficial to you too, as you can see what I'm going through. So, this has been Semester 1, Year 1 of the Real Estate Experience, Real Estate Development Experience, Week 8, by the way. Thank you very much for supporting my show, and you've just been experienced, baby. Later.